dari Prodi East Asian Studies ya Bu ya. Ya. Dan bidang Ibu Hayati adalah lebih kepada culture ya Bu ya. Japanese Studies, Culture and Society, dan kebetulan kita hari ini mata kuliah kita apa? Budaya dan masyarakat Jepang, jadi berkaitan dengan budaya Jepang juga dan bagaimana budaya Jepang ini berada di Malaysia seperti apa. Bunda saya juga mungkin nanti di skripsinya nanti juga kan nulis skripsi kan juga banyak sampai-sampainya nulis tentang cosplay kayak gitu ya. Nah, Ibu Rohayati ini kan pakar dari Malaysia tentang cosplay ya. Nah, untuk hari ini ya kita akan mendengarkan ya kuliah dari Ibu Hayati mengenai cosplay culture dan subculture di Malaysia. Jadi bagaimana cosplay itu di Malaysia. Nah, mungkin kalau Minasang juga punya ini ya, punya pengalaman atau ada di sini yang masuk grup cosplay nggak di sini? Apa grupnya namanya? Oh, Kosura. Banyak ya? Kosura, selain Kosura apa? Selain Kosura ada lagi nggak? Siapa yang Kosura di sini? Cuma ini aja ya? Selain itu cuma berdua? Kosura? Biasanya itu juga nggak? Ya, ya. Baik, yang kita dengarkan dulu kuliah ya dari Ibu Rohayati, kemudian mungkin kita akan diskusi ya bagaimana cosplay di Malaysia dan mungkin juga, nah mungkin siapa namanya? Mita, keren dulu ya. Bagaimana nanti juga mungkin Ayush bisa kasih ini ya pengalaman cosplay di Surabaya khususnya ya, biar nanti Ibu Rohayati bisa dapat tugasnya yang mengadakan penelitian ya Bu ya, bagaimana cosplayer di Indonesia. Kalau di sini juga kita punya namanya JW ya Bu ya, kegiatan mahasiswa itu juga mengundang cosplayer ya. Tapi mungkin bisa cerita ya kepada Bu Hayati bagaimana cosplay di UNER ya, khususnya di UNER ya. Baik Ibu, saya persilakan waktu dan tempat.
Terima kasih Putri Sensei. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning. Please allow me to speak in English. I will mix in English with Malay and in some Indonesian maybe. Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me here today. It is such a great honor to be able to deliver a lecture in this university, because I think I have fallen in love with this university. Okay, the building is nice, the student is nice, the environment also nice. Okay, yeah. So therefore, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Putri Sensei for inviting me to become academic fellow to this university. Okay, so for this lecture, I will be talking about Japanese cosplay culture as a subculture in Malaysia. So, just a little bit about me. Okay, as what Putri Sensei has introduced, my name is Rohayati Paidi. You can call me Yati Sensei. Yes, I am from the Department of East Asian Studies, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, University Malaya. Our department consists of 3 programs. Okay, we have Japanese Studies, Korean Studies, and Chinese Studies. Okay, yeah. So you can consider me a jack of all trades in Japanese Studies because I did my bachelor degrees in economics from Kobe University, and then after that I did my master's of business administration from Shiga University, and for my doctor of philosophy I did study on culture. So yeah. Okay, so these are the courses that I'm teaching or I used to teach: Japanese language, East Asia through digital lenses, globalization and Japanese popular culture, sociology of Japanese subculture, social transformation Japanese culture and society, Japanese organizational culture, and management system of Japan. Okay? Alright, so I'll begin with the question. Why do we study cosplay culture? Okay? Why do you want to learn about cosplay culture? So when I began my study on cosplay culture in 2008, the situation was not like what we observe now. Okay? It was really different. Yeah? So at present, no one will really care if you wear costume and walk the shopping mall, right? Yeah. But previously, people will give you some kind of weird looks. Okay? What are you doing? Okay. Right? So one thing I noticed was the age range of cosplayers was also become wider and wider. Okay? Now we can see a group of very young students, probably still in their primary school, okay, forming a cosplay group. And then we can even see the whole family donning a costume and roaming around the shopping mall where there is cosplay related event going on nearby. Okay, maybe the parents and the kids. Okay, the parents was cosplayers since 20 years ago. Now they become parents and they have kids who are already around 7 to 10 years old. So they get the kids to join cosplay as well. And the second generation of cosplay. Okay, so let's watch these two videos to get some ideas on how this culture has evolved so much within these 20 years. Okay? So this video is from the event in 2002. It's a bit long, so we'll just skip here and there. So this was the venue, the hall. Very small hall, okay? So this is during their preparation. Oh, these are the crowds. You can see Dojin, she's selling their artworks. And then these are the cosplayers on the stage. These are the MCs. And use English language and Chinese language, okay? Communication. So these are the director of the project, giving a speech. small event, right? They're singing on the stage. The next day they have the costume competition. So these are all the costume participants of the competition. They use vote from the visitors to determine the winners. Okay? So the winner was from the end grade. Okay? Okay, so this is from the 2002 event. Now let's look at this 2022 event. Bigger halls, bigger crowd, and better side, I would say. Yeah? You can recognize some of them. So now let's compare these two screenshots, okay? So the right one is from the 2002 event and the other one is from 2022, 2 years after that, okay? So look at the size of the stage and its background. And then look at the costumes and notice how it has become more sophisticated, right? More detailed. Okay, so the number shown is the estimated number of visitors for each event. Okay, so 500 visitors during the 2002 event and 70,000 plus during 2022. Okay, so yeah, we know that not all who attend the event was cosplayer. Okay, according from the video, we understand that 32 cosplayers was participated as in the competition, which means roughly around 66% of attendees are cosplayers. So if you do simple math, okay, the number of cosplayers during the 2022 event was more than 4,000. That's a lot, right? Okay. So, my next question is, has cosplay become a popular culture in Malaysia? Okay? You can see how it has evolved. A lot of people have joined the event now. So, has it become a popular culture in Malaysia? So, to answer this, I would like to suggest that cosplay is somewhat akin to popular culture and also a subculture. So, it cannot be understood solely by the theory of subculture or by the theory of popular culture. Why? Okay. Now let's think about cosplay from the perspective of popular culture first. Okay. What is popular culture? Okay. In his book, Cultural Theory and Popular Culture, John Story outlines 6 general ways in which popular culture has been approached or defined. Okay. Number 1 is popular culture is simply a culture that is widely favored or well liked by many people. It has no negative connotation. So something that is well favored, well liked, it is popular culture. Number 2, popular culture is whatever left after you identify the high culture. It is the opposite of high culture. Okay? So, based on this definition, popular culture is always considered inferior compared to high culture. Okay? The third definition is pop culture can be defined as commercial objects that are produced for mass consumption by non-discriminating consumers. So in this definition, popular culture is a tool used by elites to suppress or take advantage of the masses. They produce commercial products and get people to buy them. Okay? So number 4 in popular culture is folk culture. So something that arises from the people rather than imposed on them. It's opposite from the commercial culture just now. Okay? So pop culture is authentic in that way. It's created by the people as opposed to the commercial which thrust upon them by commercial enterprise. The 5th definition is pop culture is negotiated. Okay? Partly imposed by the dominant class and partly resisted by the subordinates that decide what they keep or discard. So, above, there are people who create the culture, and at the same time, from the below, there are people who choose which culture to accept or reject. Okay? And then, lastly, popular culture is adopting a more postmodern perspective, where there is no distinction between high and low culture whatsoever. The distinction between authentic versus commercial is also blurred. Okay? So in pop culture today, users are free to embrace some manufactured content, alter it for their own use, or reject it entirely and create their own. So it's not high culture or low culture, it's not commercial or original. So it's just simply a culture that people choose. Okay? So regardless of which definition we would like to refer to, the keywords in understanding popular culture are the mass, the people, and the status. Okay? It's always related to people and their status when we are talking about popular culture. Okay? Now, subculture. Okay? Subculture, on the other hand, puts emphasis on the presence of shared meanings, community, and identity. These are the keywords related to subculture. For popular culture, what was the keyword? Mass, people, the status. Okay, so for subculture, it is shared meanings, community, and identity. Okay. So, a very common definition of subculture mentioned that subculture refers to a smaller, distinct group within a larger culture, often having different beliefs or interests with those of the larger culture. Okay, so this is my imagination of the relationship between subculture and the larger culture. So, subculture's positioning in society should not be considered as that of a branch of the main culture, but rather a diversification in lifestyle that coexists and overlaps within a culture. It's like this, okay? Subculture overlap with larger culture. It's not something separate. Okay? So this is consistent with what Marshall Keenan and Robert Mayer mentioned. Subculture is a culture within a culture, a collection of norms, values, and beliefs with content distinguishable from those of the dominant culture. This definition implies that members of the subculture participate in and share the larger culture of which the subculture is a part. At the same time, it implies that the subculture observes some norms and meanings peculiar to its members. Okay, so based on this description, cosplay as subculture must possess its own community and set of practices. There must be specific norms, traditions, and even a sense of identity within the cosplay subculture. So from this point of view, they may arise a few questions, okay, out of concern. Since they still belong to the larger culture, yeah, while practicing the subculture, have people who belong to a subculture always been busier than other people? Maybe you should ask your friend over there. Because she's practicing subculture and also a larger culture, right? So are you busier than other people? No? Okay, no. Okay, so on a more serious note, were there any clash between those two cultures, right? The subculture and also the larger culture. How do they balance the two cultures? Okay? And one persistent proposition here is why certain individuals are inclined to attach themselves with a particular subculture and seemingly not satisfied with the original culture that they are practicing. Okay? Maybe we can also ask that question to our cosplay friends. Okay? Why they are joining that subculture? Okay, so actually this is the hard part in understanding subculture, understanding a culture in general. Okay? So it involves our ability to articulate the meaning behind their participation, okay? Which normally only understand by those who are in that culture, okay? So we are not going to do that, okay? Because we need another day to discuss what is the meaning behind this culture. Okay, so now we back the original question: is cosplay a popular culture or a subculture? Who thinks cosplay is a subculture? No. Who thinks cosplay is a popular culture? Okay. Okay, so yeah, my answer to this question is that some people are practicing cosplay as a subculture, while some people are practicing it as a popular culture. Okay? So this implies that the labeling of a culture as a popular culture, subculture, or even high culture is not legit. Okay? In fact, culture is dynamic. It's changing all the time. So it continues to evolve and adapt to the shifting socio-economic conditions and then the technological changes or the ideological landscapes. Okay? So take for example popular culture. Okay? Popular culture, if it's popular, that means it's being practiced by the majority of the people, right? Because it's popular. If so, wouldn't it make that popular culture a larger culture that we are referring to just now? Okay? So if popular culture is culture that is practiced by majority of the people. So larger culture equal to popular culture, right? So if it's not, then what is this larger culture that we are talking now? If this larger culture is not popular culture, then what are they? Any idea? Traditional culture? No? Yeah, I don't think traditional culture is the larger culture, because nowadays not many people are practicing traditional culture, right? Even, if we see someone who is passionately practicing traditional culture with their own shared meanings, shared values, we can consider them as subculturists maybe, right? So, yeah. So this larger culture is very vague in their definition, okay? Okay, so the distinction between subculture and popular culture really depends on how someone embraces the sense of identity within that culture. So in the context of cosplay, its identity is always associated with understanding the real meaning of cosplay. So Toko Tanaka summed up cosplay as a costume game that involves 4 things, which are first, wearing clothes, makeup, and equipment that matches the existing character. Second, perform an action or pose that is symbolic of that character. Third, dancing. And fourth, being a picture model and other related activities. So these are the meanings of cosplay according to Tanaka. So because the distinguishing identity between cosplay activities and other dress-up activities is the appearance of cosplayers was so similar to Japanese SDG characters. So cosplayer needs to make sure that all the necessary items are sufficient and complete. If not, we will just look like a dress-up, like modeling. So, however, there is still a debate in terms of the role of costume as a symbol of cosplay identity. Okay? So, a few participants consider the act of buying a ready-made costume as not cosplaying. So, this is related to either identity of cosplay, which is creativity and DIY. Yeah? So, a study by Yumiko Sugiura found that cosplay acts as a form of artwork. So, according to Sugiura, most cosplayers think that the person who is doing cosplay is a work and also a product that is different from their real self. So, for that reason, cosplayers, especially women, do not feel worried or afraid if their photo are taken by unknown men. So this is because, according to the cosplayers, what is being recorded is a picture of their work and not their self. Okay, agree? You agree? Okay, so the argument about the function of cosplay as a work of art is also supported by Tanaka's study. Okay. According to Tanaka, when asked about what they are doing, majority of cosplayers respond with answers such as producing works or creative activities. Okay, so Tanaka explained that DIY session, DIY spirit, is proven to exist in cosplayers. So there are cosplayers who believe that no matter how beautiful a cosplayer looks, if he or she doesn't produce his own costume, he doesn't deserve respect. Do you agree? No. Okay, so yeah, I think it depends on individual. Okay. The thing is, the dumping of ready-to-wear costumes on the market has definitely contributed to the increase in the number of individuals who can cosplay, right? So now everyone can cosplay, okay, despite ready-to-wear costume. However, this development may cause a lack of understanding about the authentic identity of cosplay that needs to be defended. Okay? When this happens, the practice is no longer considered as subculture, especially when people begin to choose a costume merely because of its beautiful appearance, not because they like the original character. So they begin with the costume, not the character. It's not that they like certain characters and they decide to portray the character. And then they buy costume, etc. So they just, this costume is nice, I'd like to try them. And then, okay, let's cosplay. It's different, right? Okay. So now we have understood the difference between popular culture and subculture. Now let's explore the world of mentioned cosplay to discover how it all began to become a subculture. Okay, the early formation of subculture in Malaysia. So according to the discussion in the Malaysian Cosplay Community's web forum, it is said that Japanese cosplay became a thing in Malaysia around 1999. Some members even proudly claim that they were into cosplay as early as 1993. However, we didn't succeed in obtaining any evidence to support this statement, okay, this claim. So, aside from the loose translation of cosplay at that time, where one can already be considered as cosplaying by merely putting on a wig or wearing unusual clothing. Okay. So one main reason is that during 1990s, cosplay activity is merely a form of activity where people enjoy as a leisure or hobby, okay, and nothing close to what can be considered a culture. Okay. So, referring to the definition of culture, culture is a way of life or a form of sharing of art and learning. So cosplay cannot really be considered a culture in the event it being limitedly practiced by groups or individuals that do not in one way or another keep in touch with another. You cannot say that I already do cosplay in 1980s in my room alone. Okay? So you can consider that situation as a culture. A culture exists when there are a lot of people sharing the practice together. Okay? Okay. So that being considered, it is observed that the Japanese cosplay culture started to emerge as a form of subculture after the various ACG events which involve cosplay started being organized beginning late 2002. So this is one of them, the Gempat Toys and Comic Fiesta 2002. The Gempat Toys and Comic Fiesta is an annual event hosted by Art Square Creations Private Limited. Okay. It was supported from co-organizers, namely Sumaiwan Plaza, Lego, Hasbro Toys, and Red Force. So, some info about the Gempat Toys and Comic Fiesta. In its inaugural year in 2002, the event was introduced without officially incorporating cosplay activities. Only 2 visitors participated as cosplayers during the initial year. Okay? However, recognizing the growing interest, so the event underwent a significant transformation in the next year. So it became the first SCG event in Malaysia to officially include cosplay as an activity. So it was reported that 21 cosplayers participated in the cosplay competition, marking the beginning of a vibrant cosplay culture within the Malaysian SCG community. Okay. So here we can see the role of industry in contributing to the development, to the evolution of cosplay. Okay, so So the common characteristic that is shared among the industry players are first, they are of a brand or location popular amongst Malaysian youth. For example, Sumewang Plaza, Penang Times Square, Berjaya Times Square, Main Shopping Fair. They are shopping malls, okay, which popular among youth. And then, secondly, they possess close relations to ACG products or communication and IT gadgets. Okay, for example. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so just now we have seen the role of industry players in the formation of cosplay subculture in Malaysia by providing a venue or a sponsor of the events. Now, the strength of cosplay as a crowd puller is acknowledged by the industry. So accordingly, they are very eager to include cosplay events and in conjunction with their own events. Okay, for example, during the introduction of new products. But despite advertisements announcing the events, okay, sometimes there were instances where the event did not take place or very poorly organized. Okay, let's take a look at this one case as an example. So I got invited to participate in this event, and eventually I am a very shy person, so I was scared to go alone. This is from the forum, okay? It's from forum among cosplayers. So this is a poster. It is an event organized by Sony, introducing their PSP, new PSP, okay? So there are cosplay competition, and also gaming competition. Okay. So this is the program. You can see here cosplay costume best dress competition, and the rest are gaming. Okay, no gaming. So these are the terms and conditions. Originally they stated that non-PSP character cosplay costume will be disqualified. But after that, they changed it to any character cosplay costume is now accepted. Okay, so it seems that they just wanted to invite more cosplayers to join. But what was the comment from the community members? Okay, picture please, big pictures, people. Picture, I want to put this event on shrineware.net. Whoever that takes pictures and make a review or entry gets their credit on the page. What? And the next time I'm getting people to cover events for free. Okay. And Anime isn't offering anything, I'm just offering to put what you write on Shrine, blah 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 blah. Okay, so this one is another event, another promotion about the cosplay related event. So we have an SCG cosplay competition coming up, spread the word, blah blah blah. And then this was the response. Okay, you have already been warned in both events and gathering and Comic Vista forums. I don't have to tell you twice that unless you provide details on what the event is and who is running it, and while still avoiding all our promotion, no one will join. Okay. All we have said is that it is for a mobile event which has no relation whatsoever to ACG. I'm experiencing major deja vu here. Tries to be exact. Why aren't the modes doing anything? So basically, from time to time, there are people who try to promote their event. Okay, it's more related to projects, but they include cosplay competition just to bring more crowd to their event. Okay, but the event itself, the competition actually doesn't exist. Okay, as a researcher, I used to go here and there. Whenever I saw flyers, actually there is cosplay competition. But yeah, sometimes I see nothing happen. Okay. So next we will be checking the role of friends in the formation of cosplay as a culture in Malaysia. So I will skip this because our time is limited. Yeah, I think the most significant contributor to the formation of cosplay as a culture in Malaysia is the Saints Youth Society. They are the organizing committee of Comic Fiesta, the biggest ACG events in Malaysia at the moment. Okay, so the Comic Fiesta that we saw just now, remember from the video, okay? It was organized by Japanese animation enthusiasts. There are 4 of them, okay? So these people became acquainted through their involvement in the publication of local comic magazine. They are all dodging cars, okay. So their dissatisfaction with the ACG event organized in 2001 sparked their determination to establish Comic Fiesta. So this event became normalized after that, and volunteers are responsible for the operation of each event. So the event also expanded, as we saw from the video, from a simple fan exhibition to commercial booths, concerts, esports, and other activities. Okay? So this table shows the list of Comic Fiesta events held so far, the venue and the number of attendees. So you can witness how the event has evolved so much thanks to the dedication of its committee, Safe View Society, from 500 to 70,000. Okay, so there are another group, but I'm going to skip this bit. Yeah, they also student clubs. Okay, student clubs in local private university which actively involved in organizing cosplay-related events. Okay, there are some examples. The top one, the Animagaki, is organized by Sanyu Anime Club, Sanyu University College. This is the second largest cosplay-related events in Malaysia currently. Okay. Okay. So next we discuss the role of ACG events in the formation of cosplay as a subculture in Malaysia. Okay, so ACG events actually play a very important role in bringing together individuals who share a passion for anime, manga, and video games. Okay, so this event acts as hubs where like-minded people can gather, exchange views, express their values, and celebrate their love for specific genres. Okay? So, particularly for cosplayers, ACG events provide valuable opportunities to showcase their creative talents and garner recognition from peers and spectators. So, it doesn't provide any meaning if they only wear the costume and act on their own without anyone looking at it. Okay? Okay. So next we will be looking into the background of participants in the early formation of cosplay subculture in Malaysia. Please take note that our focus today is on the early formation of subculture. So the situation may be different from the current one. Okay. Okay. So first, I would say that cosplay community in Malaysia has a very open structure, meaning that we cannot relate them to any existing social groups or community. Yeah? In other words, anyone can become a cosplayer. However, my observations did find some tendencies in the background of the cosplayers. So number one, individuals living in Klang Valley, Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, Putrajaya, outnumbered those who live in other states, okay? Johor, Penang, Melaka, Kelantan, for example. And then there were more students compared to working age individuals. Okay. Next, Chinese participants were more obvious in terms of their number compared to Malay or Indian. Okay. In Malaysia, we have 60% Malays, 50% Chinese, and 1% rest. But in terms of cosplay community, number of Chinese are very obvious. Okay. What do you think is the reason? What do you think was the reason? Remember, this was during 10 years ago, okay? Any idea? I think because at that time the concept of hijabi cosplay is not yet popular, right? So Malay Muslims will refuse to participate, right? Even though they are interested in them, but yeah, they consider that aspect. Okay. So, lastly, there were more female cosplayers than male cosplayers. Okay. So, one thing that could be observed from all the participants of the cosplay subculture in Malaysia is everyone shares a common trait, means they are into at least of one of these fields, okay? Animation, comic and illustration, video games, information technology, fashion, or photography. Which means if you have this background, okay, it's one of these areas, then you are likely into cosplay culture. Okay. So these interests and skills bring people together in the cosplay community, and it's this shared passion that makes cosplay scene in Malaysia diverse and lively. Okay. So next is the reason for participating. So for a number of cosplayers beginning to get themselves involved in the cosplay culture, it's merely a simple matter of having seen other people doing it and think that, oh, I can do this thing. Okay? So they just join the culture. Okay? But there are also people who do not have much knowledge on anime or manga, but felt compelled to try out cosplaying due to their interest in fashion. Okay? So I'm into fashion, so I think I can cosplay as well. So this goes on to prove that the participation in cosplay culture is open to anyone. But there are 6 main factors observed to provide cosplayers with the motivation or reason to continue their involvement in Japanese cosplay culture. One frequently mentioned expression would be joy. Joy, which is complicated to explain, especially to those who do not themselves involved in culture. But to some cosplayers, joy can be achieved by simple means, such as getting visitors be able to identify their character. Oh, you are Naruto, for example, right? So they feel like, oh, I achieved something. Okay, so they feel the joy. Secondly, making friends with shared interests in cosplay is another motivator. So cosplay provides a platform for participants to connect, share ideas, and broaden their social circle. Thirdly, the opportunity to enhance knowledge and skills in costume creation is another motivating factor. So cosplayers learn skills to sewing, crafting, while creating their own costume and props. Fourthly, the satisfaction of successfully creating something, especially for competitions, motivates cosplayers to continue. Once they participate in the competition and they won the place, then they feel motivated to continue the activity. The fifth factor involves personality transformation, with some cosplayers experiencing a positive change from introverted to more outgoing. So we always hear about this reason. Okay, so I joined cosplay because it gives me some confidence to be in front of people. And then lastly, involvement in the Japanese cosplay subculture deepens participants' interest in anime, contributing to a sense of community and promoting anime series by bringing characters to life. So they feel they want to do something for the anime they like. Okay, so now relation with other cultural forms. As a subculture, the Japanese cosplay never separated or is isolated its participants from that of other cultures. Although participants of Japanese cosplay culture indulge themselves in certain behavior or activities that may have gone against the dominant culture, but they still hold on to certain elements of their dominant culture. Okay, so an example would be how Malay participants would return and visit their respective hometown during Hari Raya, even though their cosplay event taking place in KL, for example, right? So if they what to choose, whether to participate in the cosplay event and go balik kampung, they choose balik kampung, right? Okay, so another proof is the compliance to the dominant culture is by how they choose characters that do not wear tie or revealing clothes and even wear hijab, right? So that means they are not separating the subculture and the dominant culture. Okay, so in conclusion, we can say that all these situations prove that a subculture is not something separated from the larger culture. Instead, it is just another choice of lifestyle. Do you agree? It is a choice of lifestyle, but not merely a popular culture if it involves three things. That is, remember the three things that differentiate between subculture and pop culture? Shared image, community, and identity. Okay? Okay, so some theories of content. Okay, so I have listed some theories to think together with regards to the meaning and definition of subculture and how it could be or could it be related to the cosplay culture. So the first one is from Albert Cohen, who mentioned that what people do depend upon the problems they contend with. If you want to explain what people do, then you want to be clear about the nature of human problems and what produces them. Who here think that cosplayers have some problem in their life that they begin to do cosplay? Do you think so? Do you agree with Cohen? No, right? Yeah. For your information, Cohen's conception of subculture is rooted in understanding the behavior of delinquent youth. Okay. Particularly in the context of gangs. Okay, so according to Cohen, subcultures arise as a collective response to the strain and frustrations experienced by certain groups in society, particularly when they feel marginalized or excluded. So it has been influential in criminology and sociology, particularly in understanding deviant behavior. In contrast, the cosplay subculture is generally characterized by enthusiasts who share a passion for dressing up. So, cosplayers engage in this activity as a form of creative expression. Yeah? So, it has nothing to do with delinquent or deviant behavior, right? Okay, so let's go to the next theory in subculture by Mike Brigg. Okay? Mike Brigg mentioned that subcultures arise as attempts to resolve collectively experienced problems resulting from contradictions in their social structure, and that they generate a form of collective identity from which an individual identity can be achieved outside that described by class, education, and occupation. Complicated. Okay, so actually, in relation to cosplay subculture, this statement is more closely related. Okay, the cosplay community often forms as a collective response to shared interest in anime, manga, and video games, and participants find a collective identity within this subculture. Okay, so it's just that the reason why they need to construct an alternative identity may be different from what that of Briggs study. Okay, in the case of cosplay, it has nothing to do with class, education, and occupation, right? So the most common reason that I have identified is their wish to overcome their introverted nature. So they form a new identity to overcome that their original self. Yeah? Okay, so the next statement is by Grant McCracken. Okay, he mentioned that some subcultures will appear in the world because there are people who want to try something on or try something out. We are driven by a constant interest in experiential realities outside our own. Sometimes this curiosity can be satisfied by simply taking up long or short-term residence in an existing subculture. But sometimes you have to make your own. Okay, so who can relate this statement to the cosplay subculture? Can you relate that? Yeah. Okay. So especially when they try something on, something out, cosplay involves individuals embodying characters from various media. So in doing so, participants try on and try out the identity of these characters. So they get to experience different personas and explore aspects of themselves that may be different from their everyday life. Yeah? Okay. So the next statement is from John Irving. Okay? Irving says, subculture, rather than the subset of behavior patterns of a segment or the patterns of a small group, is often thought of as a social world, a shared perspective, which is not attached firmly to any definite group or segment. People today are becoming more aware of the existence of subcultures, varied lifestyles or social worlds, and are more often structuring their own behavior, making decisions and planning future courses of action according to their conception of these explicitly subcultural identities. Okay, so this insight can be applied to the cosplay subculture by recognizing it as a dynamic social world. Okay? Which influence how participants structure their behavior, make decisions, and plan their future actions. So, in simple words, the participants get to choose. Okay, get to choose what are the social world that they would like to be in. Yeah? Okay. So next is from Sarah Thornton. She mentioned that just as books and paintings display cultural capital in the family home, so subcultural capital is objectified in the form of fashionable haircuts and carefully exampled record collections. Just as cultural capital is personified in good manners and urban conversation, so subcultural capital is embodied in the form of being in the know, using current slang, and looking as if you were born to perform the latest dance style. Okay, so this idea really helps us in understanding the positioning of subculture within the larger culture, as we have seen previously. So, cultural capital refers to the knowledge, skills, and tangible objects that individuals acquire within their cultural environment. On the other hand, subcultural capital pertains to the specific knowledge, styles, and practices associated with participation in a subculture. So in the cosplay subculture, individuals accumulate subcultural capital through their knowledge of characters, skill in costume creation, and active engagement in the community. Okay, so in conclusion, subculture can be formed when there exist individuals with basic subcultural capital who seek space and opportunity to increase and validate this capital via interaction with other individuals with the same inclination. And then a community is formed when more individuals are involved. Okay, that's all from me. Okay, so let's move on to the Q&A session. Okay, if you have any question, you have anything to discuss, we have a guest from Kyoto University like that.
紹介しましょうか。インドネシアの経験したものが。
こんにちは。私の名前は湯谷穂高です。私は京都大学の4年生です。私は3ヶ月プロボリンゴわかりますか？プロボリンゴで 日本語の先生みたいなスプルティグルをしていました。今は、日本の春休みホリデーです。だからじゃらんじゃら旅行をインドネシアに旅行をしています。よろしくお願いします。私の友達にコスプレをしている人がいないです。だからさっきポップカルチャーで手を挙げていて少し驚きました。多分みんなコスプレが好きなんだなって思いました。で、私は日本で京都に住んでいます。京都でコスプレをしている人が少ないです。全然いないです。東京にはたくさん、秋葉原とかにたくさんいると思います。でも京都はほとんどいません。で、アニメのコスプレは私の周りにはいないんですけど、例えば東京ディズニーランドとかユニバーサル・スタジオ・ジャパンに行くときにハイスクールの高校の制服のコスプレはたくさんします。あと私の大学の卒業式、グラデュエーションセレモニー、卒業式でもコスプレをする人がいます。でもアニメのコスプレは少ないです。だから今日はとても面白かったです。マレーシアでこんなにコスプレが人気だとは知らなかったです。初めて知りました。
I think the experience between Malaysia and here in Surabaya is almost the same for the hype and for the enthusiasm of the community here in Surabaya, and mostly for the difference between the first time cosplay and Surabaya. I think for the current situation, every week here always there's always an event cosplay. It is a small event, but there's also a bigger event that is held annually in some convention center here. So I think between Malaysia and in Surabaya is also the same for the hype and for the enthusiasm. There is also a hijab cosplayer here. I think there is also a lot of Muslim women who want to try cosplays of. They also use hijab as wigs. So yeah. Yes, that's correct. Actually, in our majority has orientation period that one day we have to cosplay. Yeah, so I was cosplaying Miko. And so all friends start from this year, all students in universitas Erlangga has to cosplay.
So why did you choose Miko?
I rental the costume for my friends. The Miko likes appropriate for hijabi cosplay. Yeah, so that's what inspired me when I cosplay Miko.
So are you thinking to continue doing cosplay?
No, I didn't. Because a little bit spend my time to cosplay, so maybe not just first cuma sedikit saja. So okay, please.
Okay. Yang lain? Tidak ada suara pandangan? Adakah cosplay ini sebenarnya popular baca atau tak baca? Selepas mendengar lecture hari ini. Popular baca. Kenapa? Kita guys. Tidak ada salah ya. Dalam perbincangan ilmiah tidak ada benda salah. Bagaimana anda menyampaikan dirinya? Cosplay adalah popular kalau saya fikir bentar. Yang lain sudah? Orang pandangan? Tidak ada? Okay. And now? Sudah? Okay. So, saya rasa itu saja.
Baik, ada pertanyaan lagi, Mbak?
Saya boleh tanya,
Ya, silakan.
hijabi cosplay di Malaysia seperti apa? Apakah mereka punya special community, special rule or something?
Saya rasa mereka ada komuniti mereka sendiri kerana sebenarnya memang begitu ketara bilangan mereka. Saya pergi ke recent Comic Fiesta dan memang sebenarnya bilangan mereka lebih banyak daripada cosplay lainnya. Ya, saya rasa saya perlu melakukan sebuah kajian to include hijabi cosplay.
Bisa ditampilkan video atau kita bisa browsing.
Saya ada dalam sini.
Kita hijabi cosplay di Indonesia banyak.
Kalau di Surabaya sedikit saja.
Di Jakarta banyak.
Kurang tahu kalau tidak. Tapi mereka punya komunitas sendiri. Look at this photo. So it looks like hair, right? But it's actually a hijab.
Selendang.
Ya, selendang. Selendang tudung yang dilipat-lipat-lipat nampak seperti bagaimana rambut kan? Ya. Ini juga tudung kan? Ini sebenarnya tudung.
Rambut.
Ya. Saya memang begitu kreatif.
Kalau di sini gimana? Ada masuk itu?
Biasanya juga mereka kalau bajunya agak terbuka itu pakai dalaman set juga
Enggak untuk ininya
sama,
dikasih apa?
pakai hijab juga gitu.
Oh, jilbab.
Ya jilbab itu dibuat gitu sama. Iya. Dan apa hijab cosplay di Indonesia setahu saya waktu di Surabaya itu tahun 2009 itu sudah ada. Saya pernah foto dulu.
Oh, ini.
Nggak didiskriminasi sama teman-temannya cosplayer yang lain.
Kalau di komunitas gitu itu apa ya biasanya kayak dilarang sih. Jadi kita harus open kalau di komunitas itu. Kalau kita mendiskriminasi berarti ya mau nggak mau kita sebagai konsumsi kita di-ban di komunitas. Karena kan ini kan terbuka, jadi mau dari manapun atau kesukaan bagaimana itu ya nggak boleh dihujat.
Di peringkat awalnya Indonesia authenticity of the character, right? Tapi kemudian yang perlahannya semakin ahli komuniti semakin menerima lah, kan? Sebab dia berkait dengan kreativiti dan dia berkait dengan dia sepatutnya terbuka, siapa saja bebas untuk mengekspresikan minat mereka. Okey, itu saja.
Baik, itu tadi jadi biasa dapat gambaran ya seperti apa cosplay di Malaysia. Jadi kalau kita bandingkan cosplay di Indonesia ya mungkin ya gimana? Sama apa beda atau ada kesamaan seperti asal atau gimana?
Sama sih, kurang lebih sama.
Ada perbedaan enggak?
Mungkin perbedaannya di ini sih kayak pandangan orang-orang sama kostumnya. Kalau di Indonesia tuh kalau kita pakai kostum yang terbuka banget, itu tuh masih dipandang aneh banget itu cosplay. Tapi kalau saya lihat di luar itu, kalau kita harus terbuka itu sudah biasa. Mungkin karena saya baju dan mati itu dari
Masa Malaysia coba kamu tanyain.
Malaysia juga ada yang terbuka gitu.
Bedanya mungkin di Malaysia begitu kita ada perbezaan rasnya ya, Chinese.
Oh ya tadi ya.
Itu yang melakukannya itu Chinese, tidak ada siapa yang mau pisah.
Oh ya sama juga ya. Kalau kita lihat di JW yang di sini ini tuh juga banyak terbuka yang mungkin dari kulitnya putih gitu ya. Mungkin lebih ke ya ke Chinese juga mungkin. Kalau tipe yang ini mungkin lebih sopan ya. Mungkin gitu. Baik, saya rasa juga mungkin sama ya caranya cosplay ya. Di Malaysia maupun di Indonesia. Kalau Indonesia sendiri kapan? Tadi kalau di Malaysia 1993 sudah mulai ada forumnya ya. Kalau di Indonesia kira-kira kapan sampai sudah closing? Di Indonesia kapan ya cosplaynya? Kosura itu kapan ya?
Kosura itu baru 2000-an sih.
2000-an?
Iya.
Sebenarnya antara Indonesia sebenarnya kok aja. Indonesia dan Malaysia itu duluan mana ya? Untuk cosplaynya itu mulai booming atau mulai dikenal itu. Itu bisa ya. Siapa duluan ya? Malaysia dulu atau Indonesia duluan? Malaysia itu 1993 mulai. Kalau Indonesia kapan? 98 bukan Malaysia berarti ya. Tapi kalau eventnya besar itu mungkin di Indonesia itu mungkin Jakarta ya tadi ya. Itu mungkin di saya sempat browsing di Jakarta itu di apa di gedung apa? Di sisi ya, apa Jakarta
SBSD
Center ya. Itu di sisi apa Jakarta Convention Center ya. Kalau di Surabaya pernah nggak kegiatan itu? Kalau di ini ya, dulu ada di barat itu ya, Surabaya Barat Lagu Mall. PCM apa?